Welcome back to Lash Sisters Uncensored. I'm your host, Galina, founder of Thousand Lashes, and today we're doing something a little different. And honestly, something I think is long overdue in our industry. We talk a lot about techniques, retention, booking clients, lash lists, but we don't talk a lot about what happens behind the scenes. The physical toll, the emotional weight, the burnout that so many lash artists hit eventually, and unfortunately, it's usually quiet and alone. That's why I'm so excited to have Heather Simco on today. So, Heather is actually the owner of Complete Concierge Solutions, and she specializes in helping women, specifically entrepreneurs and high achievers. So, she helps them move from burnout and chaos to clarity, structure, and well being. She actually draws from 11 years of personal sobriety and her own reinvention story. She brings a heart centered, no BS approach to her work. So, this episode is for every lash artist who's ever said, I'm fine, when honestly they probably weren't really fine. So, hi, Heather. How are you?
I'm wonderful. How are you?
I'm good, good. Thank you, thank you. Tell me a little bit about your story. I'm so curious. Like, how did you end up here? Like, how did you end up in this situation helping women? I want to know your story.
Yes, a lifetime.
Uh-huh.
Long story short, I live in Florida now, but I was born and raised in California. My parents were teenagers when they had me, and that quickly ended. And then my dad remarried a woman who was only 14 years older than me, and it became very Cinderella like situation. Just cleaning up that whole very abusive, verbally abusive type of controlling environment my whole life, and presenting a version of myself to the world versus who I was on the inside because you don't tell people what happens at home. You have this perfect version. We're very good at putting on facades. And I think most people, for the most part, grow up in homes like that. But for me, not understanding that I have an addictive gene, so to speak, that laid into uh, foundations of my future addiction, being able to present a version of myself and hide the pain that was on the inside because I didn't want people to know who I was because I was always hiding that, and I didn't want you to know who I really was, and so presenting that version. So by high school, I actually ended up getting very depressed. My stepmother being controlling removed my best friend from my life, and at that point, I became very depressed. Went from very athletic to overweight. Um, Honestly, my whole life I've loved fashion and art and anything aesthetic and makeup, like, so I spent a lot of time doing that in high school because I really didn't have much of a social life. So, um, I really initially, I wanted to go into fashion in high school, but the sound person in me said, "Let's become a school teacher because that's a little more secure," so to speak. I was
Mhm.
like, "Great." And not realizing that was more my stepmother's dream that I ended up, fulfilling. And so by the end of high school, which I made it through, even though depressed and overweight, I got into college both in California and New York, where she was from. So we moved cross country, where I attended college, moved out. I was on my own since 17, homeless, few $100 in my pocket, no driver's license, no car, bootstrapping it from the get-go, and met my husband and started dating him a year after. He was a business owner, owned a mixed martial arts school at the time. At the inception of what we are so familiar with was so new in the late 90s. And so I taught and helped him run the business, and we just entrepreneurs. I grew up in a self-employed household. So I really understand that element, especially of your clients, of all the roller coasters that go with, this type of industry. And so we did so well in that I was actually able to stop teaching. I retired, quote unquote, in 2010 and worked full time in our business. We sold part of it and relocated down to Florida where I live now. And unfortunately, when I moved down here, we'd planned on building a whole new. We were building an empire. I was gonna like drive a Bentley and go to the beach every day, like ride the residuals. And I got in a car accident instead, and so all those versions of myself, I've even been Mrs. New York. I went and competed in several married pageants, and I title after title, I kept trying to find goals to make myself feel like a whole person. And after the car accident, I can do it will all disappeared, and I had to deal with just who I was. And so a year and a half of spiraling, I finally hit my bottom April 30th, and now 12 years because I emailed that to you before. I have my 12-year sober anniversary last Thursday, not yesterday, the week before April 30th, of that surrender moment where I just couldn't do it anymore, where I was just struggling with alcohol. I couldn't not drink, and I didn't know how to stop. And I lived in paradise. I'm depressed. I have everything you could possibly imagine. Beautiful house, beautiful family, palm trees. Like, why do I still feel like I want to kill myself? And so I just didn't know what else to do except for surrender. And that's the point at which where I had to start reinventing myself and picking myself back up one day at a time. And so I had some basic recovery jobs, but now because of the work I do in ministry, that my husband is now a pastor, we and people I work with in recovery and in my local community, I've had the blessing of being able to help women in so many areas of their life, so many different ages, um, be able to reinvent themselves and transform without necessarily hitting a bottom. Or if they hit a bottom, I can help them rebuild. And so I've to be able to do this now, my passion, purpose, and paycheck lining up from what was like the worst thing that they could have ever thought would happen to me is being an alcoholic or an addict, to now having the blessing of being able to work with so many women and watch them blossom and grow from feeling stuck in their lives to now, becoming a whole new version of themselves. So that's how I am where I am today in that job.
That's awesome. That's awesome. That's so inspiring, honestly. I'm just so curious, like, how did you end up stopping? Like, I know you said like you hit your bottom. And so what did that look like? How did you end up being like, okay, like now I need to stop, and how do I stop?
Yeah. Initially, I was introduced to a couple women who were in recovery who talked about not drinking, and it blew my mind because I was like, first of all, you don't say that out loud. Second of all, you're not happy about that. I was like, why are you happy? You're not drinking anymore. What's the matter with you? So, um, but when I didn't know how to, like, I'd want to stop or I'd try to stop and I just couldn't, I knew who to go to and I asked them for help. And so they brought me to the rooms of recovery. And so I went to AA for quite a while and I just couldn't get it necessarily. Kind of did it to get everyone off my butt. Like, here, I'm going to meetings. Here's my coin. Here's my Bible. Leave me alone. And it, and I tried again, put on the show, but still breaking apart inside. And I was there long enough to hear my story from other people so many times to realize, wow, this is really something. And I got to the point where I'd stop for a couple months, pick back up. And then I got to the final spiral where I was drinking even though I didn't want to. And I was driving home. Yes, driving drunk. I couldn't drive past a place that sold alcohol with picking something up on my way home. And I finally got home, and my husband, who's my best friend, I've been with him almost 30 years now, and he wouldn't talk to me. No one pick up the phone. I've just like literally wrecked all the like no, everyone was done with me, and so I'm laying in my room alone in the middle of the night, and I finally say, "Okay, God, I cannot do this anymore." I thought by controlling it, I could like figure out how much I could input my body. Controlling it was the abstinence. And I finally said, just help me with this. I cannot do this anymore. Just take this, like tears, face on the floor, just take this from me. Like I'm done. Like I've completely thrown the towel. Like, and I'm a fighter. Like I thought I could fight my way through this. I th- I'd broken so many chains. Like my parents were teenage pregnancy. Like there were so many broken chains in my family. I'm like, I stay. And that was the last one. I kept trying to use the same key, and I didn't realize that by controlling it was to let it go. And that was that final moment where I was like, okay, and the miracle happened. Like, and since then, I mean, I've had to rework my way through cravings and different things, but the compulsion, that need, was more. It was literally a miracle in my life that it was completely taken away. That now it's not even there. Like I can't
Wow, that's
describe it any other than a
incredible.
miracle. Yeah,
So you were like craving it, and then after you prayed and surrendered, it was gone.
it was gone.
Just like the next
Still
day.
get
Wow.
goosebumps. Yeah, just the full surrender. I'm like, just take this from me. Like, take it from me. It was like asking him to take a demon out. Like, just remove this part of me.
Yeah.
I can't wrestle with it anymore. And he's like, okay, you asked me for help. I'll take it. It was just gone. Like, I for the
That's really incredible.
just
That's really incredible. Yeah, I definitely we both me and my sister, we actually are completely sober as well. We don't drink. Also like, very similar kind of story, but the idea is that yeah, alcohol can be definitely a way to, or alcohol or drugs can be a way to
Mhm.
cope sometimes, and then
Yeah.
until it just becomes completely out of control, and then next thing you know, it's not, you're not coping.
No, it's taken over.
Yeah, it's taken
Exactly.
over.
Yeah.
Um, so what do you think burnout like how do you find burnout ties into this? Like what does it look like in terms of like, maybe your addiction or how you got to where you got? Do you think that had anything to do with it or no?
At that time, not necessarily, because I had too much time on my hands.
Oh, right.
What I've learned more so in sobriety is knowing my threshold so that I don't turn to a coping mechanism because I was numbing for so long. I mean, I'm sure burnout I mean, I was like going, how many jobs, how much time? I mean, it was literally go, go, go. Like I hit a goal and I'm on to the next one. Because I was survival mode. But in my sobriety, that's really where I started to recognize once I started to feel the roller coaster of emotions, know what that felt like, knowing whether I'm overdoing something or underdoing something, recognizing those behaviors because just because you put down one substance, it finds an avenue somewhere else. And so that coping mechanism starts, I find it same root, different branch. And so if I have too much on my plate, I don't know how to say no, I don't exert certain boundaries, I get so overwhelmed, I shut down, and now I'm just done with everything. Like then that's a burnout. I'm just like, I'm out. Leave me alone. Like I can't do this anymore. And so being through those cycles enough times sober, I'm like, oh, I can avoid getting to that point if I recognize the systems, the symptoms ahead of time so that I don't just say, F it, I'm out, leave me alone.
Yeah.
Screw it. Like I'm on the couch for 3 days, instead of like checking out of life entirely. It's just learning how to mitigate and manage and have a better balance in my life so that it doesn't happen because life is life. Like I've been through so much in my sobriety that if you don't have a if you can't if you're unable to create a healthy balance in your normal life when life hits you, because someone's gonna get sick, someone's gonna pass away, someone's gonna get married, like, there's gonna be life events that add extra pressure. If you don't have the room in your life for that, that's it. That's you're headed towards a burnout or, if you're working too much, just figuring out where those limits are healthfully, that you can and learn how to delegate. So there's I've learned a lot more so in my sobriety than
In your
prior to.
sobriety,
Yeah.
rather than before your sobriety.
Yeah, I was just nonstop. I was like the Energizer Bunny. There was that I that was a crash and burn.
That's so funny. That's interesting. And you mentioned before when we spoke that you actually work with quite a few lash artists. Because tell me about that. Like, tell me how, like, what is
So
it and how?
I
Yeah.
I initially got my lashes done years ago when I was doing my pageants because I was like, it's so much easier to just have them done. And so I knew someone then, and then my husband and I were going to renew our vows, and we had to do a roof instead, so we had to adult. And so instead, I have this like cool dress. He has a suit. We're like, you know what? Why don't we just go do photos instead? And so we did anniversary photos. I'm like, I want my lashes done. Like, I want this done, so I don't have to deal with it. Get my makeup done. And so that's where my new journey. I'm addicted. Now it's gonna I'm addicted to getting my lashes done. I spent like 3 years now.
I know.
But re getting them done and meeting all the women in there and just conversing with them. So I've just getting my own lashes done over the past several years. I've encountered and befriended these lash technicians over the past years and like gathered them because you're there for an hour or so. Just to hold these
Yeah, you get
conversations.
really close for sure. You
Yeah.
become like you get to know them really well.
Yeah, it's like your hairstylist, like, you build these, like, really confidant type of relationships, so, yeah, I've, like, basically absorbed them by just being out in the world getting my lashes done, so it's a fun back and forth too, because like, I'm there, like, happen if I don't fall asleep, like,
Yeah, 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 yeah. Oh, good.
"Ah,
So you're one of those clients that sometimes falls asleep. We love those actually. Those are
well,
the best.
as long as I don't snore, I'm sorry if I do."
That's funny. A lot of clients think that the lash artist cares, but like honestly, like it's totally not a problem.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, exactly.
But tell me like with them, like what are some things that you've noticed that you could relate to while working with them? Some of the things that they struggle with.
Yeah, time management, overwhelmed because you're there, they're scheduling. What I also noticed, and a lot of them have different because you're crouched over, like the position that you have to be in to do that job as long as you do. Trying to help them find healthier, uh, either like food, like how to eat healthier during the day so that
Mhm.
they don't have to like consume too much caffeine throughout the day. Um, certain exercises that counterbalance that the mode where you're just in these tiny little, I mean, because you're so meticulous helping them do all of that. And, one girl who's in her early 20s is going back to school, so balancing, her work schedule and going back to school. And again, that healthy eating, making sure that she's finding that healthy balance in her life as she's beginning her career, basically. And then there was another woman I worked with who is a master lash artist who has 3 kids. Her
Mhm.
husband, like, she's trying to balance being mom and cooking, and so I'm trying to help her, like, where she can meal prep. Like, we have a Whole Foods in our area. They have this 4-pack box that it's 26.99. You can literally pick it up, put it in the oven, heat it up, and you're good to go. So, like, helping her find quick tricks and tips so that she can spend more time, because instead of coming home and being exhausted, having to worry about cooking and doing all the mom stuff, figuring out where she can cut corners healthfully and be able to spend more time with her kids, so she can help with their homework, do all the different things there, and have those different allowances. So it's been a lot of helping them manage time management, all the different wellness techniques that I have. And funny enough, both of them don't even want to drink anymore. One decided she was going to stop drinking a year sober. So my story ends up getting interwoven with these women, but I tell my story anyway. So it's been, like I said, it's been such an amazing blessing to come across them and have so much in common.
Of course, of course. And I really love that. Like, because a lot of times, like, even people realize that even though, like, they may not be necessarily to the point where they're like a full blown alcoholic, or I don't want to use labels, but, but the point is that alcohol is not, you think that it's helping, to cope, but it's actually doing the opposite,
It
right?
is, yeah. It's
And
counterintuitive, actually. It's
exactly. So then you're like, okay, well, I'm using this to cope, but then I feel worse. So how is that how is that helping? So then it's like a lot of them realize like, oh, maybe I should try something else, a different coping mechanism, right? Um,
healthier. Yeah.
something healthier. And it's so interesting because there's a lot more nowadays, there's a lot more talk about wellness and how to put yourself first and how to put your health first. Whereas, like, I don't know, 10, 15, 20 years ago, like, that was not even a conversation, right? You just powered through, you just do it. And you,
Yeah, you make your out. Yeah, you mess with it, that caused my crash and burn. It worked really well until it
exactly. Which is sad, right? Because a lot of people, like, can you think of how many people, like, don't necessarily have a happy ending like you did, right?
Oh, I see it, unfortunately, yeah. It's very sad, those who can't get it,
Or,
for
like,
sure.
get out of it. They can't, like,
Yeah,
they're, like, they're, like, struggling, but then they're like, "Wait, how do I come out of this? I don't know how to get out of this."
exactly.
Um, so tell me, what do you think, like, you talk about redefining success a lot. What would it look like for someone who measures everything by how booked they are as a lash artist? Like, tell me about redefining success. What does that mean for you?
I think it's a balance because, like I said, I made it in business. I've done the whole thing where we sold it, almost like a Shark Tank type of deal, and, um, chasing after money and all that stuff of the world, and I didn't take care of who I was on the inside, and so there's a way of, I find that if you focus too much on that and not on yourself, you'll never appreciate your success monetarily or the stuff that you've earned. It will feel very empty if you don't work on who you are on the inside. So for me, redefining success was getting in touch with who I am, who I can enjoy, who I am outside of my work. Like, that doesn't define who I am as a person. That's awesome. It's great to have those accomplishments, but my biggest problem was when I attached who I was to those accomplishments, when that got taken away from me from the car accident, yeah, feel very like an empty vessel inside. And so, I would say to rebalance what that looks like, and redefine, like, look at it more as like, okay, that's data, that's awesome. But where in my life am I finding balance? Like, work hard, play hard, but like you're doing so much. Where is the time that you can actually enjoy the fruits of your labors instead of continually labor? I think even as Americans in our society, we get caught up in almost being proud of working too hard and not enjoying enough of the slowdown and enjoying, a vacation, taking your time off, having time to yourself and your family. Like, 'Cause if you go too hard, you miss out on all of those opportunities, and they go by so fast. Let me tell you, 45 now, like, I have a 21-year-old daughter. It's like, when did that happen? I feel like I was just 21, and so really looking at it as in addition to instead of this is my only means of who I am as a person and building that internal person inside of you because you should retire someday, hopefully. Like that should be a means to an end at some point, but it shouldn't define who you are as a whole person. I think if you can find, that caveat of you inside it makes the success that much more successful. And actually, you become more successful the more you are in touch with who you are on the inside is what I found, which again seems counterintuitive here, but the more you're in tune with yourself inside and your who you are, what you're doing for a living, the more people are attracted to you because they're like, wow, that girl really knows she's confident. She she knows who she
She
is.
knows what she's talking about. She knows talking. They're like, why? She knows who she is.
Spend an hour and a half getting my lashes done by her. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
So it works, twofold.
So what do you think that looks like? You're saying like, okay, you have to know who you are and kind of how does what does that look like? Like, let's say like, just give me an example of like, let's say your day. Like, how what does that look like to you?
I would say the biggest thing is being comfortable with yourself alone. Like I spend every morning, I go to the gym. My regimen is I spend the mornings by myself. Like I'll wake up, say goodbye to my husband or whatever, but I start my day meditation. I'll work out. I spend 10 or 15 minutes in the sauna. Like I detach from the world. That's when I listen to my podcast. It's when a lot of my creative ideas come and just adjust myself for the day. And real alignment with yourself is being like I'm comfortable with who I am on the inside. Like wherever I go, my outside reflects who I am on the inside. I'm not pretending to be someone else. Like trust me, what I love about my lashes is I don't have to do my makeup necessarily. Go to the gym. Like it gives, I should say there's a little bit of false confidence I love having with that because I no makeup and I've got my lashes. I'm like I can go with the top on. I don't really care. Um, but I'm comfortable with who I am wherever I go. Like, I don't need validation from someone else to tell me that I am who I am. Like, I get that from the inside. But that's from, like, self-growth, really cleaning up my past and aligning who I am as a person and being more positive and not self-deprecating and, like, looking at my accomplishments as a person. Like, "Wow, you did this. Look what you did." Like, instead of looking at failures or anything I going? What am I doing? What have I accomplished? And again, just being comfortable in my own skin like that. As most of us, I don't know if you ever experience this, like being in an, I don't know if it's social anxiety. You go somewhere, you just feel like there's bugs crawling under your skin, like you're just uncomfortable, and to have that totally removed, where you can walk in, like I imagine like movie stars, they walk in and like they just own the room, like being able to have that all in line. That to me, like that's where I think success internally and externally meet that magic moment for women.
Mhm. And how did you achieve that? Like, what was the
Tons,
secret?
tons of clean out, a lot of self inventory. I had to go in like, okay, what am I angry about? What do I need to let go of? Who do I need to forgive? Um, Boundaries, who's in my life that's causing me unnecessary problems that are making me angry? Who am I having imaginary arguments with? Like I had to really clean house internally, externally, um, and look at the people, places, and things in my life that weren't good for me anymore and clean those out. And once I was able to do that, it gave me a lot of perspective of I had friends. I joked because I had my dad was there for my whole life, so I didn't have daddy issues. I had mommy issues. I still don't have like a mother figure. So I kept picking female friends that were just like my stepmother. I'm like, why do I keep ending up in these toxic friendships? And I literally in the recovery rooms, I was sitting there one day, I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I keep befriending women just like my stepmother." I'm like, "I have a bad friend picker instead of a boyfriend picker." I was like, it totally threw me for a loop. So it's really looking at your relationships as a whole in your whole life. Like who is really there for you? Who's there to root you on? Who's there for you to be the best version of yourself? Who isn't going to enable you to be that version that isn't the best version of yourself? And so all that self-exploration and self-forgiveness and reworking my relationships gave me the confidence because I could choose to say no to someone. And there's a lot of empowerment in that. Say, this is who I am. You can't treat me this way. Take it or leave it. It's hard to enforce, but once you start cultivating that, you really become very in tune with who you are as a person, what you will put up with and what you won't. And that's where that confidence starts to exude And because people are like, wow, she means what she says what she means. And it all becomes, again, that attractability as a person and confidence that comes from within. But it's a lot of, digging deep and looking at all the icky parts of yourself that you don't want to look at, that we're using to numb and escape from. But once you can, with someone or a trusted person, pull all that stuff out, remove it so it's not weighing you down anymore, the sky's the limit.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, actually. And for lash artists, I can see how I don't know if that's what you do with your clients that are lash artists, but I can see how you could like, for instance, like having clients that are draining, that are like, every time they're on your schedule, you're like, ugh,
Mm.
I don't. So just like letting those go, like it's just not worth that aggravation, that energy, right?
Because someone, if you birds of a feather, you'll get someone by removing them from your schedule. Let them be someone else's problem. Like, you'll get a probably 10 times better, probably tips you a lot better as well. Like, way better clients by letting them go, because why ruin your day? Like, if someone, and I'd read so many different, like, even business type books, if someone's not rowing in the same direction, you can say no to clients if they don't fit who you wanna work with. That once you can cultivate that and that confidence, and again, those boundaries, then now you have a whole world, your schedule's full of people you can't wait to see. And now, instead of being drained, you're energized because you were surrounded by awesome clients all day, instead of ones that are like, negative Nancy's on the table.
Exactly. Exactly. And clients that actually appreciate you, because that's the crazy part, is that those clients exist. It's just a matter of aligning your energy. Here. Yeah, exactly. That's funny. But yeah, that's so interesting that you bring that up. What are some other things that you do? Like tell me a little more about the clients like with work-life balance, like when they're a lash artist and let's say they have other responsibilities at home. Like what are some things you guys do to help them in that sense?
Yeah, another tool
Mhm.
besides just time management, which is huge, knowing a good time, like having a good bedtime, waking up at a proper time, but also delegating out responsibilities. I think not just lash technicians, but women in general, we try to do everything: the laundry, the dishes, the grocery shopping, like the list is endless. And instead of it being woman chores, I say, because my husband and I divide and conquer with our chores now after being married for so long, I call them human chores, because as a human, you would have to do it whether you're married or not. Laundry has to get done. Dishes have to get done. These things have to get done whether or not you're a man or a male or woman. So it doesn't matter. So as a human job, so elevate, to delegate, to elevate. So if you have a husband or you can afford to, or like rearrange your finances, pay someone to clean your house while you're gone all day, so you can come home to a clean house once a week. Is there a laundry service? Like, there where grocery delivery, like, where are different areas that you can cut and let someone else take care of it for you, that you no longer have to do it. And sometimes it's, and not everyone's finances allow that, but as lash technicians, if you own your own business, you can write some of this stuff off. Aha. So it's an,
Oh, I didn't know that. I didn't know
yeah,
that
that's
because rent.
Rick, some of the stuff you can write off. Yeah, it's like, especially, I know some technicians work from home, or they have a little area. There's certain areas, if you have an office or you're using your phone, there's certain areas that you can write off. So
Right.
yeah, so there's different, like, there's so many different angles as a business owner that you can take advantage of, that alleviate the stress from having to do it all yourself. Like,
Yes.
does someone else, can someone run and get your groceries for you? Like, there's just so many different angles where you can alleviate even a half hour to an hour worth of nonsense and errands, that allows you the time to spend with your family, or go to the gym if you need to, or take a bubble bath at night. Like, where can you alleviate that time that you give yourself the space for self-care? And, or like I said, family, like, your kids have a soccer game. Like, where can you get Instacart? Like I said, a Whole Foods or grocery stores. Costco has 4.99 rotisserie chickens that feed a whole family. Like, there's so many weird loopholes that it'll show up at your front door. You don't have to do a drive-through. You don't have to go grocery shopping, and it's right there, like, one and done. So learning how to delegate out certain responsibilities to alleviate your stress is so important, especially for a busy, whether it's hair technicians, nail lash technicians, but like, you guys are on, you're on all day, and you work the hours that you would necessarily need to do these things. So giving other people that space to do it, I think helps so much. So you can actually
For
enjoy being
sure.
home when you're home.
For sure. And you know what's interesting is that you're talking about this. I used to have so much guilt around it, around like delegating.
Yeah.
Because I was thinking like, well, I should be doing all of this. Like, and it's so funny because like my parents, they're like immigrant parents, and they'll be
Mhm.
like, well, why do you need to pay someone to do this? You
Yeah.
should you should wash your floors, or you you should do this. But then it's like, okay, well, I should do this, but then I should also manage my 4 kids, but then I also have a business that I have to
Yeah.
have bandwidth for. So meanwhile I'm washing my floors, then I have nothing else left for myself, for my
Yep.
kids, for my husband. So I had to let that go, like the guilt over having someone do like silly things, like for instance, like making our meals. Like I have someone that does that for us,
Yeah.
and I have zero guilt over it anymore, but I had to work through that, and that was really
Yes.
hard.
What? Because I went through that as well. Even in recovery, like anytime, this is an interesting thing for anyone listening. If you can't ask for help on the small things, how are you going to ask for help on the big things? And so learning how to ask for help, like let go of the guilt. Cause for me, I love like what some people ask me to do, I love doing. I can do in 5 minutes, but would might take you an hour because you're like, I don't want to do that. That's not my specialty. Like, and you're funding someone else's natural ability. Like, let them do it because it fuels them. Like, so I let go of a lot of guilt. I'm like, wow, I'm denying someone else their natural ability to do something they love to do that I hate to do. So go ahead and do it. Like, here you go.
Right.
It's like, well, I've that helped me with a lot of guilt because I was like, wait, I'm denying someone the ability of fulfilling who they are because I feel guilty. No, now that I fulfill your dream, you can go ahead and wash my floors. Okay.
No, but that's your yeah, because for some people that's their thing. Like they are good at it, they like doing it, or that's the way they feed their family, and like
Yeah.
that's totally cool. But yeah, the guilt around like being a woman that works, but also having to do all the other things is very, very difficult, because
Yeah.
then you feel like you're split into many, many different directions. Sometimes, like, you feel like you have to clone yourself almost to like,
When they
'cause
figure that out, let me know. Be another me.
I know,
I would love another me.
I know, right?
But she might not want to do laundry either, so I don't think it'd work.
Well, that's it. Me neither. Like that's the thing.
Ah.
But yeah, like, so I think that a lot of lash artists, like, even like you said, even if like, okay, it's okay, like if you can't necessarily afford like a full-blown like nanny or babysitter, or
Mhm.
someone who comes to clean your house every week or day, like there's other creative ways that you can manage your life, like you were saying, like Costco, the
Yeah.
rotisserie chicken, right?
Mhm.
Like let's say you cannot make dinner that day. Another trick I have personally found, which I think is awesome, so like if you have the gold American Express card,
Mhm.
you actually get free delivery with Walmart Plus. So like the
Oh, I do too.
delivery,
Yep. I have the
yeah,
platinum. Yeah, exactly.
yeah.
Yep.
So it's amazing because what happens is that, like, let's say you're out of avocados, or you need cucumbers, and you have to go to the store just for that. That's going to take, like, I don't know, 45 minutes to an hour, and it's going to stress you out. You just order those avocados, you put them in the cart, 2 hours later, it's at your door,
I
right?
know. It's amazing.
It's such
Uh,
it's such
and
a
when people
hack.
need something, I fill my cart throughout the week. Instead of writing a grocery list, my husband will let me know, "Here, need this." I just add it to the carts of what I'm doing.
Exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
Can you imagine how much extra stress and extra, like, annoyances and frustrations that removes from your list?
Yeah, entirely so. And again, relieving that guilt, because think about the gas, the time, especially if you have kids, got a cart 'em in, they want something, like, what is your time worth that it's so much easier to just have someone else just drop it off at your front door. You're like, "There we go.
Exactly.
I'm good."
Exactly. There we go. It's magic. It literally is magic. And even if you don't have that free delivery thing, like honestly, I think $12 a month, like just the amount of gas that you would waste going back and
Especially right now.
forth,
Yes.
especially right now, like it's
Worth it.
totally worth it, right?
Yeah.
So, what other like, hacks have you discovered over time?
What I've done, a couple things. So for moms, what I've done, and even single women, is I say have an emergency meal frozen. Like find something that like if you know you're ready, like you have a couple of them in the freezer. If you know like you had one of those days, like the kids threw up, you had to go to the doctor. Like we all have those days, and just have that emergency meal where I don't have to hit a drive through. I don't even have time for Instacart because it can cost me extra $10 or whatever for the fast delivery. An emergency meal in your freezer that's ready to go. That helps right out the gate. Um, the other stuff about delegating, if you have kids, and this is what I did with one of the women who's Lash Tech, is teaching them how to eat healthy. So, like those little cute meal prep boxes for kids, they can basically, like, you buy the groceries and they can pack their little meal prep boxes for themselves. So it teaches them how, like, so you do two things. You teach them how to feed themselves well, so they're feeling themselves well. Now they're packing their lunches. They get to choose because you can, whether it's fruits or whatever the stuff. So they make their own Lunchables essentially that
Uh-huh.
is ready and their own different colors depending on what kind of kids you have. And now they get excited about making their own lunches. So that's one less thing you have to do. And then they take ownership of their own food. So it's kind of like a stacked uh, ability, which I thought. Yeah, exactly. So, and then they're like, oh, these are my portions. This is what I should be eating. And then I did it myself. So I want to make sure that the proud of like their own project, so to speak, of doing that. So it's also one less thing as a mom you have to do of like juggling lunches or paying too much for, school lunches or anything like that. That helps a lot. But like I said, food management, yeah, time, all those different things. And like I said, now they're in charge of it. And so if they messed up their lunch, that's on them. For the next time. So yeah, teaching tool.
I love
Little teacher and me. Yeah.
I'm going to utilize that because I currently do make the lunches for my kids, and I feel like that is it's a great thing to I'm always looking, like, as an entrepreneur, I'm always at this point, I'm always looking for things to delegate.
Hmm.
So this would be a great thing because it's like you said, it teaches them what to do, right?
Yeah. And the boxes on Amazon are amazing. Got like 4, 3 part, like you can buy cute little bento boxes that are machine washable. They're BPA free. They're all the healthy stuff. And then the kids, you can do color coding, and then they take the ownership of it. And or in the fridge, like they know, oh, mom, I'm hungry. Like that, you had already made your snack. Like that's your
That's
food.
your
And
stuff.
so, because that's the hardest thing I notice, and that's why I focus so much on nutrition, especially when it comes to lash technicians or people in your industry or entrepreneurs. We are so busy that usually, at least what I've done, unfortunately, in the past, I put myself on the back burner of my nutrition or taking care of it, or we just do, I don't have time for it. Who cares? Like, it seems like nutrition is the first thing that gets thrown out the window when we're so busy because we have so much access to quick food that
Mm.
without a healthy body or mind, now you're wrecking your cognitive ability. Now you're run down because you're not fueled properly, you don't sleep well. So I find this one of the important keys in these types of industries, whether it's entrepreneurs or people in the beauty industry, is nutrition is key because you're go so much you don't have the time to focus on health. You're just like, I need something quick. So if you think about it ahead of time, it helps fuel you properly, which keeps you motivated and moving forward without sacrificing your health for, you're in the beauty industry, you wanna make sure you feel good inside and out, but we end up, sacrificing nutrition in the process. So I think it's a really interesting way to integrate it so it stays intact as a whole to fuel you properly.
I absolutely agree with you. And in our industry, what's I find really frustrating is that it's glamorized, or like it's like kind of put on the pedestal that you should like hustle and like get a G-Wagon and like just exist on like coffee and no lunch breaks,
Yeah.
which I think, like, it's possible to do for a few years when you're in your 20s, right?
Yeah.
But it's not something that's sustainable. Like, you will for sure 100% not make it. If you
Mhm.
like, you might make it for a little bit, but you will not make it long term. I
It
just
will.
think that it will for sure catch up to you. So I just think that that is so it's such a pet peeve of mine when I see it, like, uh I survived on 10 coffees today or something like
Mhm.
that. Like, there is a way to make it so that, like, let's say, like, you are booked, like fully booked with clients back to back, let's say, right now lash lifts, Korean lash lifts are super popular. So a lot of lash artists are booked up fully with that, and they don't have any time in between. So ideally, like if you can make yourself a smoothie and bring it with you, like at least a smoothie you can put nutrition in it and you can drink it in between clients or even during the time that you're doing your set. And I think that that is just so incredibly important.
Yeah. There's so many hacks. Like, there's so many wonderful juices out there, like pure you can get at most grocery stores that are healthy. Even the kombucha, like there's so many things that you can fuel your body with properly while you're in those back-to-back moments. And I've always I can't run too many businesses, but I always wanted to do some kind of meal delivery or set up for like lash technicians for the beauty industry because they are on their feet all day. They don't take care of themselves, nutritionally, and they're so much, they're always trying to make their client look great, but they don't have the time to take care of themselves and putting so much effort into their clients. And it's always been heartbreaking my whole life watching them pedal all day on their feet and in these awkward positions and not be able to take care of themselves, nutritionally. It's yeah, there's so many wonderful new hacks out. But yeah, I would have loved to have been able to figure out some kind of like meal delivery that works for exactly like, here you go, here's your stuff. Like it's there when you arrive. Like, it's there when you arrive. I don't have time for it. So someone can steal my idea.
I know, I know. I'm the same. Whenever I get like this new idea, I'm like, okay, I gotta stop. I
Yeah.
gotta stop because my ADHD is getting the best of me right now. And another thing, I wanted to mention is like I find like a lot of lash artists just being in this industry for so long, and a lot of lash artists definitely are have, whether they know it or not, some type of neurodivergence. Like that's the reason that
Yep.
we're so this field,
Yeah.
because it allows you to hyper focus on one thing.
Yep.
And so it's very interesting that, the rates of ADHD in lash artists is very, very high.
Yeah.
So how would you how would you approach that piece?
What a because one of the girls I work with has ADHD.
Oh, really? That's
Yeah, I
fun.
do too. I was like, "No, entirely." Yeah, exactly. So same type of thing. I'm like, because with her nutrition, I'm like, same thing. Bring your food, have it in front of you, because she'll just like go starve all day, forget to eat, and then eat like a cinnamon roll on the counter at home. I'm like, oh my gosh. So she had actually ended up getting medication to help mitigate her ADHD that worked for her. My daughter's ADHD too, so it's been my world, like, my entire, upbringing my and raising my daughter, so, um, but yeah, learning what those mechanisms are and addressing it appropriately. Because I know if it's out of sight, out of mind, you forget, like, it's putting those insurance policies in, knowing that you have that issue so that you can take care of yourself. So, yeah, I have to work with them all the time on how to, manage, okay, like you said, either the smoothie or, like, these are the things you need to have in place, or like little alarms to like remember to drink water. Like my daughter had to put a bottle of water on her desk or she will not. She will I
You will
her
not drink, right?
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, no, it's a key part, funny enough, with most of my clients tend to end up being that. So no, it's all part and integrated in there. That's why the one-on-one helps because I know it helps me know what everyone's specific little like specificities are so I can kind of adjust accordingly. But yeah, ADHD entirely in that. Like it is funny, the divergent. And that's what I mean to have if there was some kind of meal delivery that knew, like, okay, like it had like each little thing had like an alarm on it to remind you guys when to drink it or like, hey, it's time for
Yeah.
me.
Another idea would be like an app for lash arts on specifically on self-care. Like, how do I take a moment in between clients and
Yeah.
stretch? Take a
Yep.
moment in between clients and like actually eat something nutritious, not something that's gonna give you a crash in a couple of hours.
I know they're rough, right? All the information. Oh yeah, it's so bad. Even 15 minutes, like I know back to back, but even just carving out a couple of either 5 or 15 minutes in between clients, just enough to like reset, step outside, get some sun, because you guys are usually in dark. You're in tiny, usually interior rooms, or there's not always a whole lot of like natural light that you guys get. So it's important to try to
Exactly.
integrate all of those things in there, so you're not like starving yourself on caffeine all day. That cortisol spike is gonna it will catch up over time.
It will catch up for sure.
Yeah.
And then you brought over something very interesting that most lash artists really do work alone in their space. And how do you find that community plays into recovery and sustainability for a lash artist, like especially in this particular industry?
Yeah, so what I encourage, like, whether it's my online community or any kind of community, when you're not necessarily in your room with your client, is having that group of people who you can connect with outside of work hours, carving out that social time so that you're not just in the room with you and someone else. Because I know even like in some lash studios, everyone's got their tiny little closets and very little time to actually talk to one another.
Yeah.
So even like, we've got apps, we've got online stuff. So there's a lot of ways in order to connect with women that are like-minded, or making sure, put the job down, find some time to like actually hang around other people that are like-minded, that are there working towards your same goal. So I know it can be clicky, wherever there's humans, there's going to be competition or, workplace stuff, but finding the right community, even if it's there's so many Facebook groups, there's so much stuff online now. Like, I have my own community, but there's so many out there where you can find other similar like-minded, individuals who you can relate to, who you can share your, like, "Oh my gosh, you have a client like this." Like, for me, community, that's what got me through all of my recovery. I could not have done it alone. Like, I could go in and they knew what I was upset. They knew how to walk me through everything, knew when to let me vent. So same type of thing as creating a community or having one, finding access to one that allows you that version of yourself that you can be, and the support to just walk through life and vent or be sad or, work through other things that you're going through. I find, we're pack animals. If anything, the pandemic taught us we're not supposed to be alone. We thrive when we're around one another. And so now with technology, I mean, there's so many ways you can always connect with humans that I think it's essential to find a way to, you know, plug into some level of community that you're comfortable with, in either online or in person. Person, obviously more ideal, but we have so many options nowadays, luckily.
Yeah, absolutely. We do a lot of well, we started actually this year doing a lot more of these types of events, like just small events, local events for lash artists, estheticians to just like get together and for a few hours during the day, maybe exercise, maybe hmm, do some yoga or Pilates or some kind of
Mhm.
mindfulness. We did a sound bath last time, which was really cool for like meditation. And it's just something that we 'cause the feedback that we're getting, and so for this reason, we're gonna do it a lot more, is that it's really needed. It's required, like, and that's really the antidote for burnout in the
Mhm.
industry, is just having that support. Because sometimes, like, a lash artist might have a bad day or like all the clients canceled or like, whatever may have happened. And just having someone that really understands what you're going through and somewhere to vent
Mhm.
might be like the difference between staying in the industry or just being like, forget it. I'm just going to leave and get a 9 to 5.
Yeah, yeah. The isolation is the worst no matter what industry you're in, whatever it is that you're doing, isolation will kill any of your drive if you feel alone in what you're doing. So, yeah, making sure you connect is key to staying out
Key.
of your own mind. Yeah, because you just
Yeah,
spiral from there on out.
exactly. And like, obviously, when you're isolated, that's when the risk is higher for things like depression,
Oh,
anxiety,
yeah. Mhm.
even addiction, like
Yep.
you mentioned, right? Because then it's like you're alone. You have no one to kind of help you kind of get out of it or get through it.
Yeah,
So I think that's really, really important as well.
definitely. For sure.
Um, what's the one thing you wish more women in the beauty industry knew about asking for help?
Knew about it, or how to ask for help, or knew about?
Knew about it, like like what do you think would be some of the ways that you would approach that?
Me, I mean, I just start talking.
So I asked for it.
Um, Honestly, and I'm fortunate the women that I've been around, I think the younger generations are more aware of the
They
head.
are.
I think even like the podcast, what you're doing, giving them the tools that you're not alone. You don't have to burn out. You don't have to hit, and you also don't have to hit bottom just to fix yourself. So if you're feeling a little off or you don't know, like, like there's a better way of doing your life. th- There's so many tools out there. There's so many mechanisms out there to be able to get that help that honestly, sometimes just a Google search is the first thing, like to figure out what's missing. Like you normally people like if you need help somehow, you like, what's wrong with me? I'm feeling blah blah blah. Like you actually ask chat, like, do you feel
Yeah,
code and you're like, what's wrong with
he'll
me?
tell you. Yeah, exactly. He tells me every day.
Think that was very introspective. So, just I think if you're feeling that spot is first of all, just try if you can't figure out what it is, start talking to people. Go with your friends. Like if you have a mom or some confidant, just I would say start talking. Like just start talking to people is the first step. Um Also, like I said, wellness, figure out is there something that you're leaning on more than something else? Like if it is a coffee, is it diet soda, is it, whatever the case is, really start, it starts with self introspection. Realize like, okay, if something's feeling off, what is it? And, start asking people because one person might say, "Oh, I don't do that," but that so and so does. And you guys have wonderful clients. Someone, believe you me, God will intervene and have the person right in front of you. You're like, "Hey, I've been going through this," and they're like, "It's really funny you mentioned that because blah blah blah." Like that's what happened with both my all my technicians. I mentioned something, and she's like, It's so crazy you talked about that. I was literally just thinking I need to find like a new church or something." She's like, "Because I'm a pastor's wife. I don't advertise that that's what I because I wasn't born that way." And so, like, by the second time I went, I was like, "Oh, this is what I do." She's like, "Oh my gosh, I've been looking for a church, and here you are on my table just talking about it." I was like, "It's like I would have never expected." So you ladies are in such a unique situation. You have, I mean, anyone who can afford to get their lashes done has avenues of so many different things that they have access to. So just I would you have them at your literally at your fingertips. I would just start talking to them, see what they know. You never know what they're gonna come back with you at. Like you might end up with a coach like me. Table.
Exactly.
That's actually what I do for a living. Let me help you.
Exactly. And sometimes, like there's some lash artists that are doing so well professionally, but like you said, like in their personal life or, when it comes to managing all the chaos and the stress, they may not necessarily know what to do. And so in that case, like you just look, like you said, look online or ask people or, just
Honestly, and, like, I'm here. Ask me. Even if I can't help you, I'll find someone who can. Like, I love that's what I do. That's why I do this for a living. I love helping people. So if someone's like, "I'm having trouble with blah," like, just shoot me an email confidentially, and I'll be happy to help put you in the right direction. I've so many amazing women at my fingertips now that I've met through the years who specialize like, I met someone who specializes in Lyme's disease. Like, she had to overcome figuring out how to get herself out of it. Like, I have so many women in my repertoire basically at this point that if I can't help you, like I said, just ask Heather. That some hey, what's go I don't know, but like I'll if it's not me, I'll find it for you. That's one of
you'll
my
find someone who
specialties.
can.
It's one of my superpowers.
Oh, that's amazing. That's incredible. So I'm actually going to put your information in the footnotes. So it is, let me see here. I have it here. Yeah, so I'm going to put it in the notes. And so anyone that wants to reach out to you or anyone that may have a question about this podcast or what we spoke about,
Yeah.
feel free to reach out to Heather. Like she's very open and she would love to help.
Of
So, is there anything else that you may wanna kind of touch on for the
yeah.
final words?
I know. So, few things that are exciting. So, I'm writing my bio. So that should be coming out in July, but I'm also hosting a retreat in Naples in October. So it's for entrepreneurs, high achieving women, or that doesn't. I like I said, I have all the women in my her lash technicians, just have a couple of days to meet other like-minded women. So if you're looking for community or want to find other like-minded women to connect with and just have a real good time for a few days, I have a wait list on my Linktree. So I'm planning that. And so it'll be 3 days in mid-October to get away to sunny Florida, right by Naples. We're a mile from the beach where our location is. So that one, I'm really excited about hosting that down here and just helping everyone recharge and really meet other like-minded women. I think it's gonna be a wonderful time.
Oh, amazing. That's so awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing that. Thank you so much for sharing your story and your recovery. And I'm honestly, I'm really proud of everything that you've been able to accomplish. And like, that's really inspiring, honestly.
Yeah.
And thank you so much for helping lash artists and come on this podcast. If you guys are able to, if you can share, uh, this podcast with a friend that may want to hear it or that you feel might benefit from it, please go ahead. And see you guys in the next episode. Thank you so much, Heather.